Let me bring in Joe. Just for a moment, stepping out of our very microprism of what it means for India, let's ask the country that's voting and counting today what it means for them. You've been a Trump critic for a long time now, and you have been a Republican. You're not the first Republican who's actually endorsing Kamala Harris in this election. What's at stake? Democracy, liberty, these sound like truisms when they get repeated too often. What's specifically at stake, and what's the election looking like?
Good to be with you all. Well, right now the election is a tie, and nobody knows who's going to win tonight. Mm-hmm. What we do know is this: only one of these two candidates will not accept the result if he loses, and that's Donald Trump. We talk about a threat to democracy. Understand something. In the 248-year-old history of this country, only one American president has lost an election and refused to accept the result and refused to concede. And then, oh, by the way, committed crimes trying to overthrow an American election. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we talk about a threat to democracy, that's what those of us who are critics of Donald Trump mean. He will do the same thing this year. He will come out tonight and he will declare victory before the result is known. And when the result is known, if he loses, again, he will never accept the result. We are a representative democracy, one of the oldest democracies on the planet. If we get to a point where we have candidates who do not accept what the people choose every 2 or 4 years, we're done. And Donald Trump is doing that. That's what's at stake, really, today for America.
So you're saying that if the election, which you say is a tie at this moment and nobody can call it, if it does not go Trump's way, a January 6th could repeat?
I don't know if it will look like January 6th, but here's what I know. There will be major political violence in America in 2025. It's what Trump wanted. Again, I need to remind everybody, before the 2020 election, months before the 2020 election, Trump began lying about a stolen election. Now, why did he do that months before the election? Because he wanted his supporters to be angry when he lost. He was inciting violence. He and J.D. Vance and all of Donald Trump's media cheerleaders are doing the same thing this year. They are priming his voters not to accept the result if he loses, and then to get angry, and then to get violent. So I have no doubt that there will be violence in America if he loses. I hear from his supporters every day. They're convinced he's going to win. One of Donald Trump's biggest supporters, Tucker Carlson, said 3 or 4 days ago that it would be impossible for Kamala Harris to win unless she cheated. Now, if you tell Trump's supporters that, you're telling them that because you want them to think there's no way Kamala Harris wins. So if Kamala Harris does win, they're going to believe she cheated and they'll get violent.
You do understand, Sanjay here was just saying that America is no longer what America used to be. And when Indians look at all of this, we have many problems, but we do the transition of power from one government to the other reasonably peacefully. And so this is very peculiar to hear you talk once again about the possibilities of political violence. But I want to play out what Trump most recently has said about the election results. He's also suggested that it could take days before the result is known. And I'm keen to find out from you and the panel what that might mean. Listen in.
And then they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy. And they want to lock you up. They want to put you in jail. The ones that should be locked up are the ones that cheat on these horrible elections that we go through in our country. And I don't know what's going to happen, but for future elections. And then they accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy, and they want to lock you up. They want to put you in jail. The ones that should be locked up are the ones that cheat on these horrible elections that we go through in our country. And I don't know what's going to happen, but for future elections, I won't be even a part of it. But you ought to damn well go to paper ballots. You ought to go to voter ID. And you ought to have the election over by 9 o'clock. I'm hearing now they're going to take weeks. Can you imagine? They spend all this money on machines, and they're going to say, we may take an extra 12 days to determine. And what do you think happens during that 12 days? What do you think happens? These elections have to be decided by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. Bunch of crooked people. These are crooked people.
Okay. You always have to catch a breath after you hear a Trump speech. Before I go back to the rest of the panel, Joe, do you want to explain what is this about 12 days and they have to be declared tonight? And he's basically already setting the grounds to say there's cheating if he loses. Am I understanding this correctly?
Who does that? How can anyone vote for someone who would quite literally attack our country like that? You talked about the peaceful transfer of power. That's a uniquely American thing that Donald Trump broke 4 years ago. Look, he's telling his support. He did this in 2020. He's telling his supporters the only way he will lose is if the other side cheats. That's a despicable, un-American thing to say and do. We have some of the most secure, safest elections in the world. I think the rest of the world needs to understand that every state, 50 states, they are all in charge of their own elections process. Every state does it differently. Some states, it takes a while to count all the votes for a lot of different reasons. But every vote should be counted. It's not because they're cheating. There's never, ever, ever been evidence of massive fraud or voter fraud in this country. It's a lie, but he's doing it because he doesn't want his supporters to accept the result if he loses. That's horrible.
Joe, you have said Trump will not, you believe if the election goes adversely, Trump will not accept the result. And I take your point. My question to you is the fact that it is so keenly tied, the fact that it is so close, the fact that you as a Trump critic are calling it a tie suggests something about what Trump is able to invoke. What is that?
Yes.
What is that?
Yes, Barker. Yes. And by the way, I voted for Trump in 2016. Look, Donald Trump is a horrible human being. He's a demagogue. He lies every time he opens his mouth. But we are living in a populist moment in this country like the rest of the world is. Our politics is broken. Our political system is broken. Our two-party system is broken. So in environments like this, demagogues come along and people are attracted to demagogues. That's why Trump is doing so well. I acknowledge that. We're divided. Trump didn't divide us. Trump is the product of a broken, divided system. I need to make one more quick point here. There is no both sides here, and I will not put up with that. If Kamala Harris loses this election, she will accept the result, she'll concede, she will congratulate Trump, and she will go to Trump's inauguration. If Donald Trump loses, he will do none of that. There is no both sides here.
Yeah. What are you, if you were a betting man, before we let you go, who do you think is winning?
Oh, I wish you didn't ask me that.
I know, I put you on the spot, but you're the only one who's right there in the middle of sort of, the Beltway politics. Yeah.
I believe she will win by more than people think. I've been out there every day for months talking to Republicans. I think there are a lot of Republicans who are going to quietly vote for her because they're tired and exhausted with Trump. But I don't know.